There's just nothing more masculine and straight than 9 sweaty men sitting around a table playing cards for weird amounts of money. And tonight, we have one of the biggest pots at our table of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, let's play some fucking cards. I did a hand motion like I was Donald Trump. That was weird.
Dude, I'm about to special summon, dude.
I'll do it for
99 minutes.
You're talking about, dude, it's not banana. What's Max buying?
Bringing soup into the poker game.
This guy makes his money from one hand.
I can't believe
It's
this.
all good, you know I'm gonna leak like the fucking Titanic.
He's a bad flop for Jones because his range is full of bullshit.
I just fucking hate being to the right of both.
What do you mean? You're the one raising.
30? Stupid, bro. I'm down as fuck. They call it a syndrome.
Nice.
That's pretty good. That was good. That was dark. Respect.
Ladies and gamblers, welcome to the Sanctuary. My name is Blitzed Bankroll, and tonight I have the pleasure of being your humble host in this private home game. To my returning degenerate children, it is good to see you. And if you are new, allow me to open your eyes to the beauty of poker with friends. Unlike most poker vlogs where you play against shapeless, faceless NPCs, here you get to watch a group of friends endlessly try and rob each other. It's very healthy. Here is the roster for tonight. Take a look at those heavy hitters. Tonight's home game takes place in the back of a Waffle House kitchen. The 7 deuce game is on. We start the night at 100 big blinds effective, and I'm excited because tonight's hands are fun. And this episode of the vlog includes one of the biggest pots that has ever occurred at this table. Anyway, enough lore dumping. I think you guys get the point. Let's get straight to the action and let's fucking gamble. Let's start the night off with a bang. We are $200 effective. It's the second hand of the night, and I peel ace-5 suited under the gun, and all the GTO nerds around the world globally bust. Of course I raise to $10. Marcus folds, and Aaron calls in the small blind. Kevin, however, in the big blind picks up some chips and announces a 3-bet to $25. The singular neuron in my head fires up at this time and tells me 2 things. 1. Why small raise? And 2. Ace-5 good 4-bet bluff hand. Must raise. At this point, I'm starting to think that stacking off with a suited ace to start the night off is beginning to feel like some sort of weird tradition because I always get in these situations. Or maybe I'm just a donkey. Anyway, because he raised so small, I think that I can probably get him off the hand with the threat of committing his entire stack without actually having to put in my entire stack, so I 4-bet to $75. Aaron quickly removes himself from the Big Dick Club, and Kevin shoves for the rest of his stack. Well, shit. After some quick counting, it's about 109 more on top of my raise to call. I mean, I know my bet wasn't very big, but like, neither was yours, bro. And who's 5-bet bluffing? I'm not actually sure if I'm pot committed here to call, but I can't shake the fact that I'm dominated and he has a real hand. I think the weakest hand he has here is probably like queens. So even though I'm priced in, I just fold. Afterwards, he actually flips over ace-9 of clubs. So apparently Kevin just has this full-on immaculate third eye soul read on me. Or he's just normally jamming with middling suited aces. Either way, my singular neuron has logged this into its databank for later. After that tragedy of a last hand, we are down about almost half our stack, so we end up rebuying to the new max of $300. We play progressive match the stack, so as people have bigger stacks, we can buy in bigger throughout the night. So we've got about $300 behind when we look down at the very sexy 10-9 suited in the hijack. What if there were 2 Hitlers, Aaron, limps under the gun, and Kevin, last winner's hand of the 2025 Gambling Olympics, raises to 15 in the hijack? I call, and it folds around to Aaron, who calls as well. The flop comes 7, 10, 7 with 2 hearts. Aaron checks. Kevin checks. I bet 15, expecting to get raised by like a strong 10x hand, like ace 10 or any 7x holding that might have been trapping. When Kevin calls, I think I'm likely ahead. I put him on a lot of strong ace highs, some draws, and I bet pretty small, so I'm expecting any hand that was trapping with a 7 to raise me. Especially since there is a flush draw on the board, people tend to not slow play their hands when that exists. The turn brings the 2 of diamonds, bringing in another potential flush draw, and Kevin checks again. We have 2 options here. If we bet small, we target overcards, and if we bet big, we target draws. I don't think Kevin calls another bet with just 2 overs, even if it's a small one. So I elect to target overs that might also have flushing potential, hands like Jack Queen or Ace Jack of Diamonds that have turned back door, and also because my hand is very vulnerable. So there are a lot of river cards that are just hard to play here. Because my hand is so vulnerable, I elect to overbet the pot for $120. Sorry man, tariffs. They inflated the price of the pot. To be honest, I don't actually know if I played this hand right. Let me know your thoughts on this one. I may have bet a little too big. I don't know, maybe there was a way that I could have gotten more value from this one. I'm not really sure. This is a weird hand. He does fold though, so at least we get a rebate from the last hand and we take down this pot. A little bit of time passes. Joseph and Sko have decided to join us at the table. So now we got 8 cooks in the kitchen. 30 minutes go by, and not a whole lot happens until we look down at ace, queen of clubs, and the hijack. Finally, some premium ingredients we can cook with. Joseph and Sko limp, and I bump the action up to $30. Gotta make the limpers pay the service fee. And I think I can get away with charging a little bit more than normal, knowing that these guys like to call. And my read is right. Folds all the way around the table to Joseph and Sko, who both call. And I am so glad they did. The flop looks delicious. It's King Jack Jack with 2 clubs. We flop a straight flush draw on the board that smashes my range. It checks to me, and I c-bet for $50. Both players just fold, and we scoop a nice little pot without a sweat.
Marcus, I've been giving you monsters. You just don't want to play with them.
We have finally crawled out of the hole, and morale is up. We look down at a pair of jiggities in the big blind, and I contemplate why I haven't become a full-time poker player yet. Ivan, the off-screen player to my left, and first time at the table, limps. And Josh, the friend that brought him there, raises to $15 from the low jack. Kevin and Joseph both call. With pocket jacks, when it normally gets to me, I'd probably raise to like $50, but there's about $50 of dead money in the pot already, so that amount is just not gonna cut it.
He's about to raise so fucking much.
I put out a big bet of $80 and it folds all the way around. We scoop another one without a fight. Man, everyone is playing so scared tonight. Cut to another 40 minutes later, and 3 more gentlemen have decided they want in on this action. Adam, Chase, and Tyler have taken seats, and Aaron and Kevin have actually tapped out for the night. We got 9 dudes crammed into these pews. Anyway, we look down at ace 10 of hearts in the small blind. Marcus has opened the action up to $10 in early position, and there are already 2 callers. At this point in the night, we've lost a couple of small pots and are a little bit above break even again. There's some good dead money in the pot, and Marcus is a pretty balanced player. I feel like if he has a hand like Jack 10 suited or Queen Jack suited or something of that range that's opening from the under the gun, I can just get it to fold. I will say this is a bit of a dicey choice because we are in the small blind, which means that if he does call, we're just going to be out of position for the rest of the hand in a bloated pot. But because I'm in the small blind, it also looks stronger. So I bump it up to $75, expecting him to just fold. Get out of the way, you know? But he doesn't. Marcus does not do this. Instead, he chooses the path of violence and he 4-bets me to $200. Oh, come on, man. I really want to win this pot. At this point, it should just be a fold, but for some reason, I just like tank. And the dark urge to like burn my money to send a message begins to take over my thoughts. Without a doubt, I am behind here, 100%. but my brain is like,
Well, I have blockers to the aces, which means he's less likely to have aces and ace-king. So he could be doing this with kings or queens or jacks, and if I shove, maybe it'll look like I have aces? I don't know, it doesn't really make much sense, but buckle up, kids, because we're going all in.
I also, like, mid-shove, make the terrible mistake of realizing that I only have $450 behind. So even if he's got the bottom of his range, like jacks, he's pretty much forced to call me because he's pot committed. Marcus does tank, but I know, and I think he knows that I know, and we both know that he just can't fold. He's already priced in, so he makes the call. The runout comes with an ace, but it also ends up coming with a king and a jack, so pretty much the only hand that I'm beating here is queens. But no, he turns over ace king, and we donate our stack to a friend in need. I was playing this, it was a teaching moment. Yeah. The lesson in this one is don't do that. All right, we reload a third time and smack ourselves in the nuts. It's time to lock in. I buy up to the max, which is 300 big blinds, and at this point, everyone is pretty deep. Josh limps, Joseph limps, Sko limps, and I look down at ace-5 offsuit. Yeah, this is garbage, but hey, no one is raised, I've got a chip on my shoulder, and we're on the button, so maybe I can just anger my way into stealing this pot. I tilt raise to $15 from the button, and only Joseph and Sko call. The flop comes, and it is 7-6-10 with 2 hearts. We flop nothing. I am not rewarded for my losing play. Nevertheless, when it checks to me, I do what any tilted regular would do and mistake the checks for weakness. Maybe if money in, me win? I throw in $15 because I hate money, and both Joseph and Sko quickly make the call. The turn is a 4 of spades. Joseph thinks about it for a second and then checks, and now Sko comes out of the trees and donks for $60. Okay, no worries. This 4 gives us an open ender, so that's good, right? Wrong. This is a setup. If you run the math, calling the $60 means we are going to brick on the river. And if we fold here, we are going to hit the straight 100% of the time. Given that we can only lose this hand, I choose the more expensive of the 2 options and call. Joseph calls as well. The river is the 6 of clubs. I told you my math was sound. Joseph musters up a tiny bet of $80, and immediately Sko slams a stack of $400 behind him. I got nothing, man, so I just fold. I'm all for supporting my friends, but don't let me do that again, please. Okay, guys? All right, when I said lock in last hand, I actually meant this hand. So let's lock in for real. Let's see if we can turn this train wreck around. Joseph raises to $20, Sko calls, and I look down at pocket 5s from the middle position. We're all super deep, and I'm getting pretty good odds to call, so I go digging for gold. I make the call. Marcus and Josh in the blinds join the party as well. We are going 5 dudes to a flop, and it is a pretty good one. 5 king 4 with 2 spades. Bang! We hit middle set. Checks all the way around to me, and it is time to start investing in our future. I put out a bet of $35. I'm just hoping someone who has a king will raise me here, thinking I'm just raising my position since I've been so loose tonight. But unfortunately, no one does. But both Marcus and Josh do make the call. Joseph and Sko fold. The turn is a 6 of hearts, which might look like a not so great card, but I don't think anyone is calling the flop with a gut shot like 7-8 unless they're also spades, and a hand like 2-3 never makes it past pre-flop. So if you got here, congratulations, you're probably just going to take my money. Anyway, it checks to me again. I've got a little less than $450 that wants to be all in by the river, so I'm praying one of these fine gentlemen has a king, preferably a strong one. This time, I pump up the action to a beefy bet of $125. Marcus thinks about it for a second before making the call, and Josh folds. The river is a 2 of clubs, which thankfully is not a spade. The only hands that realistically can beat us here are ace 3 of spades, 7-8 of spades, or sometimes pocket 6s. All of which would have probably check raises on the flop with a turn. So when Marcus checks to me, we stick with the plan. We Hollywood a little bit like we're tanking, and then we put in the rest of our now $325 stack. Marcus makes the call, and we show our hand, and we finally climb out of this stupid hole. And we get some revenge for when he called our very shitty bluff earlier. Let's fucking go! We the best music! About an hour passes, and we've lost a number of players, and now the sweats are here. We're playing six-handed. Marcus raises to $10 under the gun, and we finally look down at a very playable ace-7 suited in the big blind. It folds around to me, and I have a borderline sexual attraction to suited aces. So, of course I make the call. The flop comes ace, queen, 10 rainbow, which is great if he was raising with a non-ace X hand, and terrible if he was. My ace is pretty weak, so I check and flow, and Marcus bets $7. Come on, man, you're gonna use your GTO sizing on me? I know this is like an appropriate third pot bet size, but come on, this pot is so small. You can at least bet 10. Unfortunately, Marcus is way more balanced than I am, which means that this small bet size doesn't really reveal the strength of his hand. He would probably be going this size with his entire range, which includes his stronger aces. So unfortunately I can't raise, I just make the call. This is what I like to call a buckle up hand because it's gonna be very hard for me to find a fold if he bets huge on later streets. Also, if you're playing at my table and you're watching this vlog, please don't use this against me, okay? Anyway, the turn is a 3 of diamonds. Relatively safe card, pretty much a brick. Nothing has really changed. If he doesn't have an ace X hand, I expect him to check back this card, even with hands like kings or jacks. The 3 of diamonds is also better in general for me than him. I could have some straight draws that turn some flush equity that would play this way, so I actually decide to lead this time for $20, ready to run away if he raises me. Which he does not do though, great sign. Instead, he checks his cards, thinks for a while, and then makes the call. The river is the 5 of clubs, which on the surface seems pretty safe, but now we lose to a lot of ace-5 suited hands that might be playing this way. So I actually think that trying to squeeze out a little more value on this one, especially since we're first to act, is just a little too thin. So I check, and he checks, and we take it down. I'm gonna be honest, we are not playing very good, but we are starting to win some hands, so hear me out. New strategy, how about we play good and also win hands? Consider the following. For this next hand, Chase has raised to $12 under the gun, and I peel Jack 10 suited in the cutoff. Given the fact that I have a pretty decent hand, and I'm in position to chase, and I want to make sure that the button folds so I'm not stuck in between two people, I 3-bet to $40. I also just really want to win. It folds back to Chase, who makes the call, and we go heads up to a flop of 7, 10, 6 with 2 clubs. We flop top pair. But this board is also kind of scary. Chase checks to me, but I'd expect him to do this with 100% of his range. He's also way more likely to have flopped the nuts here than I am, and even a hand like pocket 8s isn't doing that bad against my 10. And don't even get me started on the flush draws. Yapping aside, if I had a big pair or a hand like ace king or ace queen with a flush draw, I would still probably bet here. So I throw out a please don't raise me bet of $40. Chase thinks for a second and makes the call using both hands, which is definitely a tell. Maybe? No? I don't know, someone help me, I'm scared. The turn is a 4 of clubs. Nothing to see here. A total brick, unless he was on a flush draw, or he has like 4-6 and it gave him 2 pair, or he has pocket 4s or pocket 8s and now is open-ended or turned a set. Yeah, total brick. Nothing scary to see here. Chase checks again. It's close, but I actually think there are still enough hands in his range that I beat that would call another small bet. A hand like ace 8 with the ace of clubs, for example. Also, I feel like if I check here, I can expect to see a chunky overbet on the river, and I really don't want to deal with that. So I go for some Bible paper thin value. I throw out a bet of $50, If I get raised here, I'm probably just gonna fold. But rest assured that I am screaming, please just call, inside my head, and I am praying to just get a check back on the river. Luckily, he just calls, and the river is a jack of spades. It's great because now we beat all his 10x, but it's also not good enough to raise. If we were beat on the turn, we're still beat on the river, and it makes it a little less likely that even a 10 calls us for a third bet. So when Chase checks a third time, I'm just like, oh, thank God. I check back and I show the winning hand, and we take it down. What a sweat that was. I wonder if Chase was stressed out at all about that hand. All right, the moment you've all been waiting for. The big hand of the night. We are all super deep at this point. I'm sitting here with over 400 big blinds effective, and I look down at a couple of flamingos under the gun. I raise to the standard $10, and it folds around to Sko, who 3-bets me to $25. Nothing strange here. We are heads up in a short-handed table. This is a pretty standard 3-bet size, so I follow the gambling playbook standard procedures, and I make the call. You also can't see it, but Sko is the biggest stack at the table. So let's see if we can't take a bite out of that hedge fund he's got building over there. Also, I don't normally do poker lessons, guys. This is mostly for entertainment and comedy purposes, but the first step to winning in poker is to just flop it. So being a professional rec player, that is exactly what I do. The flop comes 4 Jack 2 with 2 hearts, and my pants are gone. They're gone. What's even better is Sko leads out for $40. Now, normally I'd raise here, but Sko could just be stabbing at the pot, so this doesn't necessarily mean he has anything. It's also a pretty sizable bet, and I'm not too worried about the flush draw. I decide in the moment that he's probably bluffing more often than he is value betting, so it's better to just call and quietly hide in the bushes while I prepare my booby trap. The turn is a 7 of clubs, which is a beautiful brick. Sko continues his story and fires at another sizable bet of $100. All of my 2 neurons are firing off right now. He's either got like a really strong jack like ace jack, or he's on like a heart draw, like a strong heart draw. There is a world where he has pocket jacks, but let's not think about that. No negative thoughts at this table, okay? Considering the board, I think it's time to spring my trap. A strong jack isn't really going anywhere, and given the size of the pot, if he's on a flush draw, I don't really see him going anywhere either unless I jack up the price huge. So I Hollywood for a bit before bumping up the price just a notch, $250, and he quickly makes the call. The river is the 7 of hearts, which pairs the board and gives us a full house. It also brings in the flush, which is a great card if he was on the flush draw and kind of awful if he wasn't. Sko checks to me, and I consider my options. I don't know if a jack calls much more on a board like this, but if he was on the flush, he's stuck with me. I decide to target that because I'm a greedy little fuck, and hey, maybe if he has a jack, he just won't believe me. So I pull out some chips and I overbet for $800. And he calls. I do not slow roll. I immediately announce boat, and we win. We scoop up a pot of over $2,000, which is one of the biggest pots at the table, man. Ugh, poker is fun. After we take a chunk out of the big stack, we become the big stack ourselves. And we play for a little while longer before the table eventually breaks. We started off down in the dumps, but we ended up big time, baby. Check it out, $1,506 is our profit, and we walk away with 4x what we put in. Pretty good considering our early game punts.
If you like the video, if you like the hands, if you like the graphics, baby, I made all the graphics myself. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm recommending videos. Watch these videos. I just love gambling, baby. I love gambling. I love making videos. I love it all, baby. YouTube, baby.